Jai was once the world's greatest hero, known as Zero, but he retired into total obscurity after a long and grueling war. Now living as an unemployed civilian, he struggles to keep his true identity hidden from his sister and the society that still idolizes his former self, all while the world of heroes he left behind continues to expand. Humanity hit a rough patch in 2093 when mystery monsters decided to ruin the real estate market. It basically turned the planet into one massive, high-stakes death game. Just when the server was getting wiped, a figure appeared with enough main character energy to put the rest of the world to shame. He was clearly built different compared to the average NPC of that era. Our guy spent those days speedrunning the apocalypse, showing these mobs what it looks like to be outclassed by a superior build. Finally, having a god-tier carry was pure cinema. With the prime target removed, everyone else started their own grind, turning the world into a massive server of heroes looking for XP. It was a golden age of side questing that nobody saw coming. Then, just like a pro streamer quitting before the sub count drops, he ghosted in 2100. The legend has been hard stuck in total obscurity ever since that final login. Skill issue on the world's part. Back in a memory, the protagonist gives a speech about forcing the play instead of waiting for the meta to shift. It is the classic ego trip needed to keep aura points from hitting zero. Fast forward to the present, and the nariformed idol is yapping to a crowd, looking like he wants the sidewalk to swallow him whole. Total midlife crisis energy. Things get worse at home, as his sister, who clearly has zero patience for a jobless former titan, kicks him to the curb. He is down catastrophically, trading his throne for a pavement nap. He stands on the sidewalk in a suit, acting like he is the lead in a movie that nobody asked for. He is desperately scanning for a side quest that does not require manual labor. A mob of fans starts screaming for an idol, proving the world still loves to glaze anyone in a shiny costume. Watching these NPCs cheer is just painful. The performance gets interrupted by a C-rank criminal with a gun and a bad attitude from a bargain bin villain school. It is a textbook case of a low-effort mob crashing a high-tier event. The hero cracks a whip to disarm a minion like it is daily chores. The boss watches his own aura points dip. It is basically over for the goons. The main attraction jumps in to trade paint, but the strikes look like a pure struggle session. His opponent is parrying everything like a bot that just downloaded a tutorial video. After a victory that the crowd celebrates like a championship, the crook rage quits the scene. It is a classic move for someone realizing their stats are just not high enough. When the cleanup crew tries to slap on some cuffs, the villain hits a power-up and breaks free. Even the onlookers look like they are witnessing a game-breaking glitch. The antagonist goes full beast mode, becoming one of those hulking models that usually show up in the starter area to bully new players. The crowd is panicking while the protagonist just looks confused. Suddenly, the suit-wearing guy drops the facade and smacks the massive beast with a punch that actually carries some frame data. The monster just got deleted by a secret boss. The second-in-command starts barking orders like he is the main villain, instead of just another meat shield waiting to get clapped. It is adorable how he thinks shouting buffs his stats. The hulking monstrosity gets annoyed, sending his own teammate flying with a single swat to shrink the party size. Talk about a massive skill issue on the captain's end. The mysterious guy introduces himself as an E-rank rookie and starts pitching a business proposal in a literal war zone. He is acting like this is a corporate meeting, not a deathmatch. He starts reading off a price list for his services, totally confusing the boss. It is the most degenerate power move, turning a brawl into a B2B sales pitch. The gauntlets he produces start glowing with serious energy, making him actually look like he knows the mechanics. Expecting a big performance, but let's see if he connects. Plot twist, he gets sent flying into the scenery after one hit, proving shiny gear does not fix a lack of combat practice. Ratioed by base-level strength. He hops back up with an electric baton, pulling enough juice to power a suburb. He is clearly trying to overcompensate for his earlier flub with some high-volt flash. The guy starts spamming every gadget in his inventory like a kid mashing buttons to see what sticks. It is absolute brain rot, but he is really trying to force this side quest. The brute gets bored of the gadget spam and slams him into the pavement, effectively ending the tech phase. The villain wants a real fight, and honestly, fair enough. Just when it looks like the hero is about to get stomped, the other brawler jumps in to prevent a total game over. The team-up is barely holding together. He starts a sermon on protecting civilians, but the boss is busy summoning a giant stone hammer. Nothing kills a monologue faster than a massive blunt weapon. The hammer comes down hard, shattering the entire stage and putting everyone in the splash zone. The villain is really digging deep into his inventory for that over-the-top impact. Smoke covers the ground, leaving us to wonder if anyone survived this circus of a fight. It looks like an end-of-server event, but here we are, still standing. Down in the dirt, the protagonist basically asks the villain if they want to form a duo, hitting him with the most absurd deal in crime-fighting history. Peer-to-peer matchmaking at its weirdest. He starts arguing with the other guy, and they look like two bums fighting over a spare tire. The situation is peak comedy, and we are nowhere near the endgame. Anyway, this boardroom boredom gets cooked instantly when our guy starts catching bodies for real. After wiping out a boss with a higher level cap than any side character, Zero stands there like he just grabbed a coffee. Before he can bounce, a legendary hero rolls up, eyes wide, basically begging for an autograph because she's clearly down bad for his high-tier performance, ratioed by fan service. He hits her with the dip, vanishing like a ping spike to save his own dignity. We immediately hard swap to a corporate nightmare where his sister is actively throwing hands with her boss to escape a toxic desk job. She is definitely built different. Back home, his sibling is busy glazing the very hero she doesn't realize is currently sweating bullets right next to her. Then, in a stroke of absolute madness, our guy disguises himself to recruit his own civilian self for a job. Peak narcissism. She is practically vibrating with excitement, totally unaware her brother is just a random civilian trying to dodge his secret identity drama. It's hard-stuck levels of awkwardness watching him try to keep his cool without getting exposed. Talk about a skill issue. The sister basically forces him into the hero career, and he accidentally stomps a hole through the floor to prove his stats are still broken. He commits to the bit, finally choosing to take this side quest seriously. Total floor destruction maxing. Now that his apartment is a construction zone, he figures he might as well lean into the hero life. Meanwhile, the news cycles play in the background like low-budget filler, foreshadowing the incoming LS for humanity while he cleans up the debris. We're so back, I guess. The perspective shifts to a corporate office where popularity stats are valued way more than actual competence. The rank 3 hero is mouthing at the higher-ups because the suits are gifting all the kill credits to a trendy family instead of the people doing the work. Systemically cooked. The president just smirks, doubling down on optics rather than raw power, proving why this whole institution is absolute mid. She's fighting a losing battle against a system addicted to influence, fumbling the bag for the sake of the grind. Cinema. Anyway, our guy completely lost his aura and fumbled his way into a fat-ass food coma. Zero flops onto his bed, whining that he is stuffed. He gripes that actual labor is for suckers, especially since a big meal makes the grind feel less like career suicide. His host pulls out an iron fork too, hyping it like the newest broken loot. Our guy just rolls his eyes, wondering if this dish-duty utensil will do anything but get him sent to the respawn screen. A flash of judgment hits him as he scans the hero industry's obsession with abs over talent. He sighs, knowing the current meta is all about clout farming, while 3 background NPCs watch him do absolutely nothing. Ignoring the critique, the merchant pivots to combat potential, dropping a blurry flashback to show off the gear's supposed stats. It's a classic side quest vendor trying to inflate a mid-item into a legendary pull. When asked how he smuggles that massive club, our main character flexes his own 4 inventory slots for stash management. The dealer just stares, jaw on the floor, clearly bitter about being outgeared. They descend to a basement grave for discarded monster loot. The merchant plays life coach, bragging that he snagged a dragon-slaying blade for pennies back in the day. A full-scale pricing war ensues, with our protagonist mocking the ugly sword to drive the cost down. The seller panics, tossing extra trash at him like a desperate used car salesman clearing his lot. Suddenly, the hero's focus shifts to a high-end bow that actually fits the late-game build. The vendor crunches the numbers instantly, sensing a much bigger payday from this weapon upgrade. Just as the sale triggers, he reaches out for 4 display swords like he's looting an endgame boss. The flustered shopkeep lunges to tackle him, terrified a trap is about to vaporize his biggest client. The dealer fumbles an excuse about his sister's hate for his liquidating the family armory. He quickly recovers, distracting the buyer with a glossy handheld device that promises high-tech video calling. Leaning in, the merchant whispers that the gadget is packed tight with low-brow, illicit entertainment. A laugh escapes our guy, but the bonding moment gets clipped short by a massive book flying through the air. Dong enters the chat with massive negative aura, demanding everyone vanish. She skips the warnings and boots them into orbit, effectively deleting both F-tier players from the server. Anyway, after nuking those mid-NPCs, this man walks straight into another L waiting to happen. Our guy stares up at the massive hero headquarters, likely wondering why he didn't just stay in bed. This building screams, we have too much money and zero actual talent, a perfect place for him to be. Negative aura. He stands under that giant, garish golden statue of his former self, looking about as thrilled as a kid on a mandatory, boring museum trip. It's truly awkward witnessing folks worship his past while he just wants to clock out. Major cringe. The protagonist tries to scan the statues for a familiar face, but he's hitting a total wall with his own memory. Beside him, his companion drones on about government bills, sounding like a never-ending loading screen. This new registration system tries hard to rank everyone from trash to top tier, mimicking some janky, post-disappearance patch update. This whole balancing act feels super mid. He drags his partner toward the reception desk, looking ready to commit to the most mind-numbing administrative task possible. The lady waiting there clearly has handled 1,000 NPCs like them this morning. Miss Dong reviews his registration form, especially that garbage alias he picked, and she is clearly not feeling it. He complains that naming things is way too much labor, proving he stays hard stuck in procrastinator mode. Next, she introduces an examiner named Yatan, who's currently doing reps just to flex his stat sheet for the crowd. This guy lives in a permanent workout montage, probably compensating for his entire personality. Our protagonist hands over his paperwork like a student delivery boy, seemingly bored out of his mind. The muscle-bound freak catches the name on the form and starts dying of laughter, expecting a free win. The giant mocks the nickname before slamming his massive barbell into the floor like it's some world-shaking event. It's a desperate plea for attention, but now the janitor is definitely going to be malding. He stands there amidst the broken tiles, posing as if he just cleared a raid instead of just making a mess. He thinks his brute strength is peak performance, but he is clearly just hard stuck in the show-off tier. The examiner points at the weight, deciding to try and bully his new test subject into submission. He really thinks he's the final boss, failing to realize he's barking at a guy who has seen it all. Our man calmly hoists a giant spiked mace, asking instead what the payout looks like if he just breaks all their expensive gear. No shot he stays for this filler episode. It's over. The gym rat lets out a booming laugh before lunging, completely unaware that he is about to get reality checked. It is the classic blundering boss versus a dude who skipped the entire tutorial. Watch our guy watch this absolute NPC catch a generational L in 4K. Red charges in like he drank a gallon of pre-workout, swinging his spiked mace with all the grace of a brick. It is a textbook difficulty spike speedrun, and clearly he is not leveled enough for this. Ratioed before he even swings. Our guy just sidesteps the flailing amateur like he is swatting a fly. It really showcases the gap between a pro and a toddler playing with a broken controller. Total skill issue. A massive thud hits the floor while the antagonist watches his ego evaporate in real time. He stares at the air, stunned that his hitbox didn't connect with anything. Physics really don't care about his feelings. Panicked, the challenger frantically scans the room but finds nothing but empty space. Lin Jai is already hanging out behind him, turning this fight into a sad little tutorial lesson. The disrespect is palpable. A sharp, predatory grin flashes as the hero prepares to delete his opponent's career. The loser attempts to cope, claiming the missed swing was somehow a tactical choice, but he is getting cooked. Stay mad, bro. Even as the challenger insists he landed the hit, the floorboards are busy shattering under an aura they couldn't possibly contain. Our protagonist remains bored, treating this high-stakes duel like a casual Sunday stroll. Built different. The arena turns into a dusty crater, yet the MVP lands in the center without his hair even moving. He acts like he just finished a quick errand rather than a fight. Pure main character energy. Watching from above, the officials look like they just saw a ghost, their jaws pinned to the floor. Power scaling these NPC observers is easy when they're this easily impressed. Their aura is definitely mid-tier today. With his rival now planted in the dirt like a literal garden stake, the master of the house points out how brain-dead that performance actually was. It is official. 0 aura points for the guy in the hole. Since he clearly fumbled the bag, the winner sighs and pulls out the heavy hardware, looking more annoyed than excited. He clearly has better things to do than babysit a casualty. Talk about a chore. A casual flick of his wrist sends a lightning-infused shockwave tearing through the masonry. It is a massive flex meant to remind everyone he is playing on an entirely different difficulty setting. Absolute cinema. The spectators are practically trembling as they realize how hard the status quo just got wrecked. Our guy poses with his oversized weapon, fully aware he just ended the arc before dinner. We are so back. But before he can even celebrate, that negative aura catches up to him real fast. Our favorite bandaged hero finally drags himself back to consciousness, staring at the ceiling and wondering how he managed to fumble this hard. The woman sitting by his bedside drops the news that he's been out cold for hours, which is honestly a top-tier skill issue for someone who calls themselves a pro. Memories start flooding back of that pathetic little strength test he tried to run, only for a mysterious shadow to absolutely wreck his day. This man is trying to piece together how he got ratioed by a total nobody in the middle of his own spotlight. The reality of the situation hits his brain like a freight train when he realizes he was dropped with one single blow. It is safe to say he is currently sitting in a state of absolute, unadulterated shock. She hands him the test results with the kind of pity you give a dog that tripped over its own feet, confirming he truly is mid at best right now. The guy just stares at the paper, probably contemplating why he even signed up for this humiliation in the first place. A close-up reveals he managed a measly 13 marks on the written exam, which is basically an F-tier performance by any standard. To top it off, his essay is just a massive cope about quitting the hero life years ago, confirming his whole career arc is currently stuck on the tutorial island. Moving to the main hall, we find Lin Zio losing it over the abysmal failure, his laughter echoing like he's watching the funniest train wreck of the decade. Meanwhile, Lin Jai stands there looking like he's suffering through the world's most painful side quest, clearly regretting every life choice that brought him here. She is actually over here crying over the 13-point train wreck, while everyone else keeps throwing shade at the lack of basic reading comprehension on display. It's a bad look when the local heroes are acting like middle school bullies instead of saving the world. The vibe turns sour when a rival hero decides to get aggressive, accusing them of being glorified leeches who just want to steal credit for the actual hard work. They are clearly feeling threatened by the newcomers, and frankly, the negative aura in this room could power a small city. Over in the hallway, the bear hero is busy lecturing a civilian, acting like he's the gatekeeper of all things heroic, while everyone else just wants to move along. The glasses boy is trying to talk about public safety, but this guy is clearly only interested in his own inflated ego. The bear hero drops the mask and admits he's just here to stat pad his combat achievements off the backs of anyone weaker than him. It is a genuine main character syndrome display of pure greed. Things flip from a petty rant to a full-on physical threat when the big guy decides that words aren't enough to squash the opposition. He really thinks he's the final boss of this corridor, doesn't he? This is where we draw the line, because watching a grown adult repeatedly stomp on someone who can't fight back is just straight-up bottom-tier behavior. There's no joke here, just a dude being a complete disgrace to the entire industry. The squad of corrupt heroes stands over the victim, doubling down on their trash talk and claiming the true legends they used to look up to are long gone. They're basically admitting they've turned the whole association into their own personal playground for bullying. But before these clowns could drop their next L, the lobby turned into absolute chaos. Lin Jai is losing his mind in the hall, screaming loud enough to tank house values. Next to him, our boy Yan Qing is begging for attention like a desperate low-tier loot dropper. Talk about a massive skill issue in the social department. It's over. Our protagonist clenches his fists, absolutely tilted because some jobbers disrespected a legend. Meanwhile, his friend is sobbing away like a toddler denied extra screen time. Talk about negative aura. These three thugs, the Gold Horns, are flexing their D-rank status like it's actually goated. They have the collective IQ of a broken server connection. They think they're the final boss, but they aren't even a tutorial mob. Cooked. Suddenly, 13 decides to step off the wall and enter the lobby, looking bored out of his mind. He pivots to challenge the leader to a duel, and this thug clearly doesn't realize he's getting speedrun. It's a total mismatch. The terrifying energy coming off this senior is so cracked it's physically melting the air. These bullies are turning into shivering messes, calling him a ghost. They're just realizing their health bars have already hit zero. Turns out the senior is a massive fanboy who gets salty whenever his idol is slandered. He's leaking enough angst to drown an NPC. These guys are sweating like they've been hit with a massive debuff. Absolute cringe. Realizing their health is cooked, the thugs decide to bail before they get deleted from the server. They vanish into thin air while apologizing to nobody. Our guy just stares, unimpressed by the low-effort performance. Ratioed. Now that the trash mobs are gone, the crew finally attempts a basic social interaction. The side character is busy correcting his name, while the MVP points to the main guy like he's inviting a random into the party. Peak comedy. 13 drops the bombshell that he's been an E-rank for 5 years. That's basically the equivalent of staying hard stuck in silver for half a decade. The shock in the room is palpable, but his career growth is dead in the water. When the talk turns to friendships, the senior drops his tough guy aura to show off a digital companion. It's the single most relatable thing he's done, confirming he definitely touches zero grass. Absolute cinema. Suddenly, the protagonist lights up because he's actually grinding the exact same game. It's a legendary bonding moment for two people who clearly need to go outside more. They're basically twin nerds in a hostile lobby. Finally, the senior calls everyone out for being yap machines, while his friend looks like he's about to pass out from sheer exhaustion. They're a completely dysfunctional nightmare team. I can't stop laughing at this disaster. But before they implode from that negative aura, Bro realizes his solo queue misery is finally cooked. After 5 lonely years in the solo queue trenches, our guy is beaming like he just hit a legendary drop. It turns out he finally found a party willing to group up, and he looks like he might actually cry from the shock of this sudden social upgrade. Talk about a rare achievement. The squad is officially locked in, complete with a flowery aesthetic that screams anime protagonist energy while they shake hands. They're acting like they haven't just signed a death warrant for a raid that is definitely going to cook them. Negative aura before they even begin. Back at the hideout, the protagonist drops a massive lore bomb by admitting his specialty is straight-up misfortune. The crew stares at him like he is a random NPC who glitched out and started reciting his own deleted death script. Total vibe check failure. Cue the flashback where he introduces himself as 13, since every Doombringer needs a cringe number for a name. He is out here running through fields like he isn't exactly 3 minutes away from becoming a walking disaster zone. Tutorial nostalgia hitting hard. This dude accidentally turns an orphanage into a bonfire because he took a walk while the server tested his plot armor. He just watches his entire living situation get deleted, but hey, at least he dodged the chores. Skill issue for everyone else involved. Just when he is safe, the next shelter gets wiped off the map by a mudslide that clearly had a personal vendetta against his residential record. It is a total architectural failure, but somehow he is the only one who respawns from the wreckage. Talk about plot armor maxing. With every building he enters turning to literal dust, the poor guy is relegated to homeless in a pile of rubble mode. He's hit rock bottom, trading a roof for a permanent spot on the streets while grinding his survival skill tree. Absolute F-tier starting conditions. A random rich dude and a monk literally pay him off to vanish because his presence is basically a localized debuff that ruins everyone's day. It is the ultimate flex, getting a payout just to be anywhere else because you are just that cursed. Hard stuck in the economy of bad luck. He finally realizes he can weaponize his chaotic energy to farm massive gains, which is honestly the smartest play he has made all decade. Why be a hero when you can just be a living bankruptcy event for every rich person you follow? Gigabrain move. He is chilling at the mall, likely trying to trigger a chaotic speedrun, when a giant monster drops in to spice up his grocery trip. It is a classic final boss encounter spawning in the wrong tutorial area. Everyone nearby is about to have a terrible time. The ceiling starts giving up on life, but then Zero slides into the frame at the last possible millisecond for a high-tier rescue. It is a flashy save that makes our guy look like a background prop, while the real main character does the heavy lifting. Pure cinema. Fast forward to the Hero Association, where the unlucky recruit is hard stuck in E-rank because his curse keeps deleting the evaluators during exams. The president looks like he is 3 coffees away from a mental breakdown trying to manage this walking catastrophe. 0 aura points. The turnover rate for managers around this guy is higher than a failed streamer's follower count during an outage. He remains trapped at the bottom of the rankings because the universe refuses to let him do anything without imploding. Truly cooked by design. Back in the present, he snaps out of the nostalgia trip and realizes that hanging out with him is a death sentence for his team. His spiky-haired teammate is screaming for an ambulance while the whole vibe takes a nosedive. We are so finished. But leave it to our guy to stroll back in with negative aura and 0 chill. Linzyro strolls into the ward like he's just swinging by for a casual coffee run. Man's rocking a cane like he's 50 years older than he is. But hey, at least he's out of the ICU. The camera pans over to 2 massive, glowing water tanks housing our favorite broken duo. Yan Qing and the man himself are just floating there in neon juice, looking like failed experiments in a budget sci-fi flick. Our guy does the classic, "Yo, what's up?" routine to his half-dead teammates. It's peak main character energy to act like your friends aren't currently marinating in a giant test tube. The duo breaks down their stats. One has a busted wing, and the other looks like he lost a fight to a lawnmower. It's genuinely wild how these people keep getting cooked by every mid-tier threat they face. Yan Qing admits his continued existence is basically a fluke, which is a massive skill issue for a supposed hero. Meanwhile, our guy is already plotting some sketchy recruitment drive like he's filling out a gacha team. The hooded girl is absolutely not having any of it and starts screaming at the wall about how she's quitting the party. Our guy immediately pulls the classic move of threatening her with a spooky ghost, basically weaponizing a side quest against her. Just when you think it's over, the mummified hero decides to step in and try hard his way into a compromise. He's offering to babysit the girl, which is either peak altruism or just him being chronically down bad for a teammate. The mummy sets some boundaries, basically telling her to stay in her lane while offering a lifeline if she gets rolled. Our guy keeps sweating her for an answer like he's at a job interview for the world's most toxic hero faction. Suddenly the lights go red and the oxygen feed hits zero, turning this into a real-life horror game. The doctor is in full panic mode, absolutely fumbling the bag while his patient starts looking like a bobbing cork in a glass bottle. The doctor tries to override the system with his clearance, but the machine is hard stuck on broken mode. It's a total system failure, and the mummy finally decides he's done waiting for the patch notes to drop. With the grace of a wrecking ball, he shoves the doctor aside, clearly deciding that violence is the only way to solve this quest objective. It's not elegant, but who cares about professional medical protocols when you've got plot armor? He hauls off and smashes that tank with a massive staff, turning the glass into a million expensive shards. The water explodes outward in a cinematic flood that definitely wasn't in his insurance policy. Glass and liquid are everywhere, and our guy is finally free from his aquatic prison. It's a total disaster, but hey, at least he's not drowning anymore, right? He's gasping for air like he just finished a legendary raid on a sliver of health. He mentions some weird vision about his old man and a field of flowers, which is honestly the most "I died for a second" tropes I've ever seen. But before bro can even process his own cringe, he's back to straight-up negative aura energy. Lin Jai is straight-up vibing on a crusty rooftop, doing absolutely nothing while a pigeon feather drifts by like this is some low-budget anime opening. It's impossible to tell if he's waiting for a boss fight or just taking a legendary nap. Peak laziness. Our guy is currently demolishing chili sticks with the intensity of a man who hasn't eaten in a decade. He's yapping about how these snacks are basically peak enlightenment, completely ignoring that he's built different and honestly deserves better. Total snack maxing. Yan Qing pops up wielding a piece of gear that looks like it was scavenged from a dumpster fire. This massive chunk of scrap metal is giving zero aura, making the whole squad look like they're cosplaying as bargain bin mercenaries. A group of losers with pink hair and zero talent decides to crash the party, thinking they're main characters. Meanwhile, a silent observer in the shadows is watching these NPCs finish their cringeworthy dialogue, prepping to humble them soon. 13 is perched high up, playing tactical observer while confirming the baddies have the loot they scammed. It's giving major tutorial arc vibes, and I'm just praying we don't get hit with a 30-minute exposition dump before the action starts. She's dumping lore about stalking these biocreeps for an entire week, which sounds like a skill issue if you ask me. Her teammate in the corner looks ready to quit the quest entirely if a bed doesn't manifest in the next 5 minutes. The squad is stuck in a speedrun level debate over whether to jump the bad guys now or let the plot drag on. Watching them sit on their hands while the villains get all cozy is a classic F-tier tactical blunder. An order for backup triggers a total meltdown because someone had the audacity to call him Specs. If a nickname is enough to break your mental in a war zone, you're definitely not carrying this lobby. He lands with all the grace of a falling fridge, still mouthing about his title. It's a bold strategy to demand respect when your only real impact on the mission is being the glorified delivery boy. These geniuses are actually considering calling themselves a team of snackheads. I guess when your collective brain cells are this nerfed, naming your hero group after a lunch break makes perfect sense. Absolute cinema of failure. Suddenly the building turns into a rave, and the villains drop a flashbang to distract from their lack of genuine aura. It's a high-budget light show hiding the fact that these guys probably have the power levels of an average garden slug. A remote click triggers a basement leak that turns the floor into a neon green slip-and slide. It's basically a bad science experiment gone wrong, and the housekeeping bill for this toxic sludge disaster is going to be astronomical. The container integrity is clearly made of wet cardboard because that goo is shredding through everything. The suit-wearing villain looks gobsmacked, likely realizing his whole inventory just got melted by a single button press. Cooked. A spectral slime monster flops out of the puddle like a rejected side quest boss. Everyone is staring at this blob of magic goop like they've never seen a low-poly asset before. The horror is real, but mostly just cringe. The creature lets out a roar that's loud enough to shake the trash cans, then just goes dead silent. The villains seem impressed, but I think the beast just realized its boss fight is definitely rigged. While everyone else tries to parse why the monster decided to stop screaming, our guy is still just chilling in the back. Talk about being easily distracted by a random side quest. This group is truly hard stuck. Watching the slime blob go AFK, he finally drops his snack. He hits his partner with a casual shrug, basically saying he's ready to stop yapping and get to work. We're so back, ratioed. But before he can start cooking, he's hit with the most mid-cardio grind of his life. Lin Jai's inventor buddy clearly missed the memo on elevators, opting instead for a brutal cardio session up these stairs. Our guy looks like he's ready to uninstall life just to escape this manual climb. Total skill issue. Up on the roof, the gearhead unveils a pair of clunky armored kicks that look like an absolute design disaster. He's hyping them up as high-end tech, while the protagonist stares at the metal slabs like they're a cursed item from a P2W loot box. This dude is forcing a questionable tech demo, swearing that a single button press is all it takes to trigger the upgrade. It's peak, trust me bro, energy from someone who definitely skipped the manual and is winging the whole build. The moment the button clicks, the shoes blast our guy into orbit with the aerodynamic grace of a brick. He's currently speedrunning the atmosphere while the inventor just stands there, wishing he'd just used the stairs. It's an absolute wipe. Down in the wasteland, Zero finally gravity checks the ground, the same moment authorities start cuffing a guy in a blazer. It's a messy crossover event between a hero's commute and a budget crime drama. A random pink-haired hero and a trigger-happy merc decide a full-on raid is the best way to handle the situation. The lobby instantly turns into a dumpster fire, and honestly, the chaos levels are off the charts. Our protagonist enters the chat with a spinning tank maneuver, casually deleting the glasses off his opponent's face in the process. He's out here farming aura points, while his enemy is just hard stuck in a losing animation. Dancing through a hail of bullets, the hero weaves through the fire like he's playing a frame-perfect shooter. The enemies aren't even hitting his hitbox. Bro is playing on easy mode while they struggle with a connection lag. The masked gunman is literally sprinting in the opposite direction, clearly realizing he's outclassed by the main character energy in front of him. He's completely cooked, while the pink-haired boss is just yapping about targets. A massive, goopy slime beast lunges for the kill, but our guy hits it with a handful of fire-hot chili sticks. Talk about an elite-tier food challenge for a monster that definitely didn't ask for the spice. The monster's eyes go into full spin mode as it lets out a shriek that sounds like a dying radiator. Watching a giant sludge bucket get taste-tested to death is exactly the kind of brain rot I'm here for. Panic sets in as the creature goes totally feral, gulping down bystanders like a free buffet. The operator is sweating bullets, staring at a frozen remote control like his entire server just crashed. Turns out the spicy meal was a bit too much, and now the creature has picked a new target, the nearby huddle of heroes. The vibes are officially catastrophic for everyone involved. Zero reveals a massive, museum-grade cannon and aims it point-blank at the beast. He's going full explosive maxing to stop this from spiraling further out of control. The blast connects, but the monster just stands there looking confused as if nothing happened. That cannon is definitely in need of a massive stat buff before the next encounter. Negative aura. Turns out, tanking that L was only the beginning of our guy's total skill issue. Our guy wakes up eating dirt like a total scrub after getting sent flying. He shakes off the lag, side-eyeing the civilian still cuffed on the floor like some sort of failed side quest. Before he can even stand, a giant emerald blob of pure negative aura slimes into frame. This thing is definitely hard stuck in the tutorial zone and decided our hero is the next snack. Scanning for loot, he snatches up a wooden club and tells his ally to sit this one out. It's the classic move of a main character who's done this boring grind 1,000 times. He lunges with a flurry of strikes, but the puddle of living trash is way faster than it looks. It sprints toward the city like a thief, leaving our guy looking like he just whiffed his ult. Across town at the market, a street vendor is fully committed to the hustle while ignoring the eldritch horror creeping up behind him. Talk about peak NPC energy, completely oblivious to his impending doom. The monster pops out, and the lady nearby hits a scream frequency that shatters windows. Even with legendary hero status, he's still stuck dealing with the most annoying lobby in existence. The sludge gains some serious momentum, turning the market into a chaotic bowling alley. It isn't even fighting back, just speed-running the destruction of local property values. He intercepts the creature midair with a solid smack that drops it to the pavement. It's a clean win, but the look on his face says this trash mob definitely wasn't the final boss. The puddle immediately rebounds, latching onto his arms and chest like an overattached ex-girlfriend. It's actively trying to turn our guy into a literal puddle-shaped lunch. He's wrestling with the goop, pulling at it like he's trying to untangle wet headphones from his pocket. The lack of grace in this struggle is actually kind of embarrassing. Breaking the seal, he emerges covered in slime and looking ready to throw a tantrum. Getting slimed in public is probably the lowest point of his entire heroic career. The local president and his mob start chirping, acting like the hero saving their necks is the one inconveniencing them. They're honestly more worried about the smell than their own survival. He flashes them a look of pure disdain while soaked in trash. Just then, his exhausted buddy drags himself onto the scene, looking like he just finished a marathon in a furnace. The sidekick isn't here for a high five. He's starting a lecture on branding and why saving civilians is bad for the bottom line. Our hero just stares him down, probably wishing he'd stayed in his room today. But before Bro can even blink, this absolute NPC starts cooking up some weaponized negative aura. Lin Jai stands there pointing at his latest dumpster fire invention like it is an S-tier artifact, while his teammate basically dies of second-hand embarrassment. It is truly peak delusion in motion. Absolute mid-tier setup. Our guy lunges at the green sludge monster with the confidence of a protagonist who skipped the tutorial arc. He is basically trying to farm XP off a final boss with 0 armor, which is definitely a skill issue. Predictably, the slime just folds him into its gullet like a taco. Seeing our hero's legs twitching helplessly while he gets digested is pure brain rot fuel. Talk about fumbling the bag immediately. The monster even throws in some disrespect by letting out muffled, swampy farts while digesting him. Lin Zio covers his face, realizing his partner is about to get ratioed by a literal puddle. Negative aura levels are off the charts. Finally, the sidekick decides to actually intervene, pulling his staff back for a desperate smash. He is praying that violence can salvage what is currently a total train wreck of a mission. We are so cooked. Before the staff lands, the slime goes absolutely berserk, vibrating like it is glitching out of reality. It is mouthing so hard that screen space is literally filling up with angry scribble text. The thing is losing its mind. Suddenly, the sewage goes from toxic sludge to bathwater clear in a massive chemical glow-up. Turns out, the genius's trash gadget actually triggered a mass purification hack by accident. Absolute W for the scrub. The now filtered puddle spits our guy back onto the ground like a toddler rejected from a ball pit. He is soaking wet and looking completely lost, though frankly, that is a career high for him. There he is, just loitering in the sparkling water while his teammate sprints over, panic-maxing all the way. It is technically a life-or-death encounter, but it looks more like a weird pool party. Stunned, the helper checks if his friend is still breathing, only to get a mocking laugh for his trouble. Nothing says main character energy like surviving a digestive system just to act casual. He is literally built different. He stands up, puffing his chest to explain the Plasma Dirt Bat 2000 like it is some legendary loot. It is really just a flashlight taped to some junk, but he is fully committed to the bit. Pure cringe. Our guy hits a dramatic pose that would get him laughed off a home shopping channel. He has the charisma of a vacuum salesman whose demo model just started smoking. Total NPC vibes. When a chunk of slime flies his way, he actually blocks it with that glorified stick, acting like he's cracked at the game. Maybe his item is glitch broken, or maybe he's just stumbling into a win, holding the line. He spins the tech until it turns into a glowing orange drill of pure absurdity. He is somehow speedrunning this encounter by treating it like an exploitable side quest. It is honestly kind of cinema. But that high-tier aura is about to get nuked by the most mid-tier boss fight yet. Lin Jai starts his day screaming like a toddler, dumping his entire toolkit into a giant, pulsating green blob. He's absolutely convinced he's peak cinema, but he's really just playing whack-a-mole with a sentient dumpster spill. Cooked. The slime finally craters, detonating in a neon mess that smears across the city. It's supposed to be an S-tier power move, but our guy looks more like a janitor scrubbing a biohazard off the sidewalk. Peak L energy. As the locals cheer for this trash-tier performance, that grinning menace already has his eyes on the prize money. It clearly hasn't clicked that hero work isn't just about destroying local infrastructure for clout. Skill issue. His victory lap hits a wall when a massive tsunami decides to delete the neighborhood instantly. The universe really said you're mid and brought the ocean to humble his ego. It's over. 13 is currently fighting for their life in a literal whirlpool while our hero just floats there, totally lost in the sauce. Watching that lack of situational awareness is just painful. Negative aura. The waterlogged teammate is out here screaming about the total lack of effort, but their bickering gets cut short. A hooded stranger just spawned in to crash the vibe check. Absolute brain rot. Survivors and assorted lizard folk are crawling out to thank the dynamic duo for rescuing them from the sludge. They have zero clue that this whole rescue was just a glorified disaster. Total fraudulence. The mood pivots from heroic to straight-up cursed as our guy is revealed pinning a girl to the floor in a puddle. The optics are beyond rancid, and he's doing zero work to save his reputation. Down catastrophic. An unseen kick finally benches the creep, and now the trio sits on the couch looking like they just lost their jobs. The vibes are officially rancid in here. Total wipe. They check the dashboard to see those sweet rank gains, but the meter hasn't moved an inch. Imagine grinding this hard just to stay hard stuck in the same participation tier. Math isn't mathing. The teammate starts stuttering, trying to break the news that their score is actually in the red. Trying to process an account ban in real time is a core memory of pure malding. It's not looking good. The cause of the rank tank is a brutal witness report pinning them for being the local creeps. The evidence, that very same girl from the puddle, is literally standing there judging them. Ratioed. Our hero enters full-blown screeching mode, claiming the whole system is rigged against his massive ego. He's digging this hole so deep he might as well start a new save file. Maximum cringe. That weird defense about only dating adults just makes the room lose all hope. The teammate is now physically unloading on him for fumbling the bag this hard. Career. Deleted. And that's where Chapter 14 leaves us. Our guy is officially hard stuck in the bottom of the rankings, and his reputation is looking like a total glitch in the system. Will he ever stop fumbling the bag, or is he destined to stay an undercover NPC forever? Stay tuned, chat.